Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. I see we have quite some participants already joining us today. My name is Lina Fortelius. I'm working for the Scientific and Technical Assistant branch in the BRS Secretariat. And today I'm here with my colleague Alan Wittig, who will join me for doing a presentation especially on UPOPs. We will start in 1 minute to see if anyone else will join. Um, while we're waiting to start, I can also let you know that we will do the presentations first. So I will go first to do a general presentation of the national reporting, and then I will give the floor to Alain. And once we have done our presentations, we will move to questions and answers. You may use the questions and answer chat box. If you have any questions that you want to send to us during the presentation, and once we are finished, we will ask you to raise your hands and give you the floor to let us know your question. But I think with this, we are ready to start. So thank you for joining us today. I will go straight into the presentation. So today I will start to present the need for national reporting, the obligation under Article 15. And then I will move into a general presentation of our electronic reporting system. And finally, a few words about the dashboard where we visualize the results of all the reports being sent into the Secretariat. And finally, this session is about UPOPs. We also have other sessions about NIPs and PCBs separately. So today we will do a short presentation on UPOPs and how to report on them. So let's start by looking at why we need to report. Article 15 of the Stockholm Convention, you see here on the screen, requires each party to report periodically to the Conference of the Parties on the measures it has taken to implement the provisions of the Convention and on the effectiveness of such measures in meeting the objectives of the Convention. And the deadline for submission of the sixth report is this year, 31st August. For submitting the reports, an electronic reporting system has been developed, and this is the same tool that is also used for the Basel Convention report, national reporting. So people who are familiar with the Basel Convention and its reporting tool, we should also be familiar. It looks a bit similar. And to help you out, each national report is pre-filled with the information from previous reporting cycle. So you don't have to re-enter data that has not changed from previous reporting years. You will need to enter new data, and if previous data has been revised, for example, an inventory has been updated and data from previous periods modified with more accurate values, or their need for other corrections. And the reporting system is constantly maintained and updated to reflect the most recent changes in the convention. So for the sixth report, all the chemicals that were listed in the previous COPs have been added. And there are manuals to help you filling in the national report under the Stockholm Convention. And for this year, we also updated the manual for national reports on how to fill in the national report in online. There is another manual just explaining how the electronic reporting system works, but this manual that was updated is how to fill in the national report. So why is reporting important? Reporting is an obligation under the Stockholm Convention, but in addition to that, it's also very useful for your country. It is a checklist to follow how your country is meeting its obligations under the convention, and to identify gaps and priorities in implementing and also help in updating the national implementation plan. And now that the convention also has the compliance mechanism set up, reporting will provide important input to its work as well. National reporting also provides inputs to several assessments that are carried out under the convention to monitor its efficiency. So this includes the effectiveness evaluation every 6 years, and monitoring the progress to phase out PCBs, as well as work to phase out other production and use of PFOS. So let's have a look at what kind of information is generally required in the reporting. First and foremost, as the convention requires implementation of prohibitions for production, use, import, and export, you need to review your national legislation. So new legislation and other measures to manage POPs at different stages of their life cycle are relevant and requested in the report. And your national implementation plan, hopefully up to date, and its updates are questioned, and they also provide a useful source for filling in the report. So the same can be said for any release, emission, or waste inventories your country has produced since the previous reporting. You will also need the most recent data on production, import, export, use, or disposal of all POPs listed under the convention. And there are some very general requests for information related to various articles under the convention, such as information exchange, public information, awareness and education, research, development and monitoring, technical assistance, financial resources and mechanisms, or the effectiveness evaluation. So some of the needs for the report are qualitative and some are quantitative. And here is a summary of numerical information that you should try to identify. Source inventories and releases estimates for the 6 chemicals or groups of unintentionally produced bruised POPs in Annex C. So this is what we will talk, my colleague Alain will talk about a bit more in depth during this webinar. And then production, use, import, and export data on the intentionally produced chemicals in Annexes A or B. And this information may be sometimes difficult to find, especially for chemicals that have not been produced in your country or that are not registered. For example, for pesticides, it's usually a bit easier because it's they have there are several ways of finding information for pesticides, as they are used in several sectors. Then we have PCB equipment, articles and materials in different concentration categories. So these data forms, the PCB inventory has a dedicated part in the questionnaire, and also PCB waste managed in an environmentally sound manner is asked separately. Information on production and use of PFOS is also requested based on the PFOS listing decision, and it's part of 3 of Annex B. And finally, the amount of POPs waste destroyed in your country, so imported to and exported from your country. The information that is needed for reporting will not be available in any single source, but the national focal point, who is usually responsible for filling in the report in the countries, will need to consult several sources for information. So the main source is likely the National Implementation Plan, especially if it has been updated recently. Any national inventories on uses, production, or emissions for POPs are useful as well, if only available, of course. And in case national inventories have not been prepared for a chemical, you can use the POPs inventory guidance documents to figure out where the chemicals may have been used and identify the sectors who might have information on those. Annual reports and statistics published by other ministries and agencies can be useful. So these could be, for example, pollutant registries, pesticide statistics, and other statistics. And similarly, any POPs-related project reports by academia and other sectors could be useful. Another source could be industry surveys, especially on local use. Availability of alternatives are also important, although they may be difficult to get and sometimes confidential. Finally, it should be stressed that the direct interviews with the experts, whether from academia, industry, or trade, can be useful to understand what is going on in your country. So there is a lot to learn, and make sure you document this in the comments section to remember it in the next round of national report. And as you may know, reporting is also very closely linked to the National Implementation Plan. So on one hand, the NIP is an important source of information, taking stock of what is available and what is missing. And reporting requires you to provide detailed information on restrictions, and including legislative references as well as data on available inventories. And filling in the report format is also a great way to get in touch with other authorities and experts in the country. So, but on the other hand, reporting format and the process in filling in the report can be used as a checklist to identify missing or incomplete elements in the NIP and national implementation. So when something that is needed in the reporting is not available in your country, you can include that in the next NIP update as an action item. Okay, now let's go into the electronic reporting system and its functions. So you can find the link to the current reporting cycle on the convention website under countries. Like, you go to the Stockholm Convention website, and then you click on countries, and there is a sub-item called reporting, and then you find a link to the electronic reporting system. And if you click on that, you will come to the national report for your country. And there is also the guidance you can access from this page. So once you click, you will need to log in and choose your language. And the username and password have been sent to the OCPs by email in January. And the report can only be submitted from the OCP account. However, there is a technical account that has also been sent to the OCPs to be shared with anyone else that you need to help to fill in the report. And this account can fill in every section except click submit. So the click submit button is deactivated for the technical account. So once you have the full national report filled in and validated, the OCP needs to log in and submit the report. And if you have lost you cannot find the email from the Secretariat, or you feel that it got lost in the spam, there is the account recovery functionality that works for OCPs only, and it works only with the email that was communicated to the Secretariat. So if you see that the email that is found on the Secretariat webpage under country contacts is separate than what you are using, please contact the Secretariat to have it changed, because we will not be able to access ERS with any other email than the one that is communicated to us officially. So let's now start filling in the reporting format, and I will go very briefly. This is only scraping the surface, but I still wanted to go through a bit what needs to be done. So getting started, review and update the pre-filled data from previous reporting cycles. Include new legislation, new inventory data, and other reports on POPs. Ensure that the reports reflect cumulative information since entry into force of the convention in your country, and indicate the year of measures taken or data collected. So if you have not reported before, you need to complete the questionnaire in full, since the convention was entering into force in your country. When you open the reporting format, you will see that it includes the information from previous rounds to help you filling in the report. So, for example, the bans and restriction of old POPs may not need to be changed if they have been reported earlier, and there is no change. And sometimes legislative references may need to be changed, but the information otherwise can be kept the same. And each reporting cycle is also an opportunity for you to update previously provided information, and if necessary, correct previously reported data to create a single complete report. And here's an overview of the reporting system. So the general information on party page. And here you will see pre-filled data from the Secretariat database for the official contact point and for the national focal point. And you will not be able to change this information in the national report. If you need to change data here, you will need to contact the Secretariat separately to get that changed. And as mentioned before, the user interface of the electronic reporting system is dynamic. So some questions offer multiple choices, and the user can select the most suitable answer out of a list of options, which then may open additional functions. So for example, if a question requires you to answer like here, yes, currently being developed, or no, once you select your answer, there could be an additional question appearing if in the case your answer is yes, you will be expected to give additional information on what has been done. And in case your answer is no, you may be requested to specify the reasons why nothing has been done. So, for example, there is a lack of institutional or policy framework, financial resources, human resources, or technical capacity. And the reporting format will then present the relevant sub-questions or parts for you to provide the additional detail. And it is important to bear in mind that the questionnaire contents depends on the answer. So the questions that depend on your answers will not be visible in the document you download for the country Word document. But there is a separate document that is that you can download that is called, I think it's empty Word document. And there you will see all the dynamic questions as well. So the system will guide you at all times on how to fill in the questionnaire and will warn you when it detects missing or incorrect forms of data when clicking the check for errors button. So this is just an informational warning. It will not prevent you from moving to another page or to submit your report. But it's taken for quality control. So once the information for the report has been compiled, reviewed, and the reporting format is satisfactorily filled in, the official contact point can submit it to the Secretariat. And it can be accompanied with any additional notes or supporting documentation added in the previous section. So, as I said, the submission is not available for NFPs or technical accounts. It's only you need to be the OCP to submit it. And the deadline for submitting the sixth report is 31st August 2026. So this year in a couple of months. So it's a good time to get started to collect all the information that you will be needing. And a few final words about filling in the report. So the reporting format is long and has many questions and a lot of data needs. So it takes time to sit down and think, what is it that the question actually asks? And try to respond to all questions. Even partial answers will help. And usually no party has all the information requested, and sometimes you just have to wait for future projects to get started. But it's important that you're clear with where the gaps are, and even a small piece of information may be useful for further work. And a good tip is to use the commenting field to add relevant background information and links. That is also useful for your country in the future, for filling in future reports. And also to take note of information you do not have. So to take note of that, and maybe you can raise those issues once you update your NIP. And gaps in reporting data make a great and well-justified action item to seek funding as well. So quickly, let's have a look at the reporting dashboard. I will just show you that the Secretariat has a reporting dashboard on its website, and the dashboard is divided into parts and sections, and you can find the information and data for each question. And you can choose the reporting cycle that suits your needs. So the dashboard has all the data from all the reports submitted, the different from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and now 6 will be included. And it's also possible to download data as Excel files if you need the data in your country. So here you see an overview of the dashboard and how to access the information given by the parties on different questions. There are some overviews and then direct access to individual questions. And this is just an overview of our reporting up to date. So from previous reporting cycles, parties to the convention, only just above 50% have reported in the cycle in the second, third, and fifth report. And of course, we hope that this year we will reach a much higher percentage. Also to make sure that. So whatever questions you may have, please reach out to me. This is a good time to reach out to the Secretariat to ask any questions you may have. If you have issues with logging in, if you have technical issues, whatever it may be, now is a good time to contact us so that we can assist in helping you submitting your report. Thank you so much. This was the presentation from my part, and now I will hand over to Alain for you to talk more about the UPOPs.
Thank you very much, Lina. I hope you can hear me well.
Yes.
Great. Thanks a lot. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone. My name is Alan Wittig. I'm a program officer in the BRS Secretariat, and I work, among other things, on the aspects linked to the Stockholm Convention and best available techniques, best available environmental practices, so BAT and BEP, and unintentionally produced POPs, so the UPOPs. So I'll provide you a brief presentation which basically will focus specifically on the reporting information needed for the natural reports on UPOPs under Article 5 of the Stockholm Convention. So the aim is really to clarify what needs to be reported and what to check before you submit. We finalize, let's say, that part of the report. Next slide, please. Thank you. So why Article 5 reporting matters? So just as way of background and to sort of set the stage, Article 5 is about reducing releases of UPOPs with the goal of minimizing them over time and where feasible, ultimately eliminating them. So under Article 5, parties are required to develop and implement action plans, or an action plan, should I say, or if and where appropriate, a regional or sub-regional action plan. And this is to be part and incorporated into as part of the implementation plans to be developed under Article 7 of the Convention. So the action plan sets out how the party intends to identify, characterize, quantify, and prioritize sources of releases of the chemicals which are listed in the Annex C to the Convention, which I'll get to later, and to develop strategies for concrete measures, timelines, and goals to minimize and eliminate them. So for reporting, the important point is that parties are asked to show basically three things. Whether they have identified and prioritized the relevant sources of releases of the Annex C chemicals, what strategies or measures they have developed to address those sources, and whether inventories and release estimates help show progress over time, so trends, let's say. Next slide, please. Thank you. So what will we cover in this presentation? So we'll first see where to locate in the electronic reporting system the section linked to the Article 5. We will look at the Article 5 action plan in the sense what needs to be entered in that regard in the reporting format. We'll look at inventories and release estimates, focusing on what the reporting format actually asks for. Then we'll turn to the section towards the end of that overall section on laws, policies, and BAT and BEP. This is because Article 5 reporting also asks how parties are requiring or promoting, let's say, measures to reduce releases. And then I'll have a final slide just providing some practical points to check for completeness to make sure that particular section on UPOPs in Article 5 is complete. Yep, next slide. Thank you. So where UPOPs are reported in the system. So basically, all this Article 5 information is reported in the Part B, Section 4 of the National Reporting Questionnaire that was just presented by Lena. And this part of the questionnaire is really dedicated to the UPOPs. More specifically, the Section 4.1 covers the Article 5 action plan that I mentioned. And this is where parties report whether the action plan has been developed, reviewed, or updated, and whether there have been any difficulties in the implementation of the action plan. Then sections 4.2 to 4.7 cover the source inventories and release estimates for the Article C chemicals. And these sections are really where parties report the inventory information, the reference years of that information, methodologies and sources of information used, and the actual release estimates themselves. And then the section 4.8 covers the laws, the policies, the policy evaluation essay, and the BAT and BEP. And this is where to report on measures required to promote BAT and BEP for the relevant sources, which I had mentioned earlier. So the practical point here to keep in mind is that reporting on Article 5 should be treated as one package, so to speak. So that you have the action plan, you have the inventories, the measures, and then you have any comments explaining if there are gaps or specific national circumstances. So where to start with it's with the Article 5 action plan. So the section 4.1 is where that action plan is reported in the system. And you have a number of questions, and the question Q9 asks whether the action plan has been developed, reviewed, or updated. One thing to keep in mind that if the answer is yes, so yes, the action plan has been developed, parties should enter the year when it was first completed, and then the years of any review or update as applicable, let's say. Then for question Q10, that asks parties whether there have been any difficulties in implementing the action plan. And then it asks parties to indicate what are the difficulties, what's the reason for the difficulty. And then question Q11 asks the party if the party has participated in a regional or sub-regional action plan. So this actually may be relevant, this particular Q1 may be relevant for when sources may be monitoring, capacity building, other implementation activities have been addressed through a more regional approach. So the key point here is consistency. For example, if a party reports that no action plan has been developed, then the answer about difficulties in implementing the action plan should be checked carefully, because we sometimes see some errors or maybe some confusion around that. And remember that there's a comments field that can be explained, that can be used to actually explain what is the actual national situation, for example. So confirm the scope of Article 5 reporting. So this is just to frame a little bit what this is all about. And so after the action plan, the next step is to clarify the scope, meaning which chemicals are covered, which source groups are used, and what is the focus of the inventory. So I mentioned before that the relevant chemicals that are being looked at in this section are the Annex C chemicals, so typically the dioxins and furans, but also PCBs, also hexachlorobenzene, hexachlorobutadiene, pentachlorobenzene, and polychlorinated naphthalenes. And before looking at the inventories, it's useful to clarify what the inventory is actually covering. Reporting points to keep in mind is the reporting on Article 5 is about Annex C chemicals and also the source categories, which are listed in the Annex C to the Convention. And the way this is translated in the reporting formats in terms of the categories is that these are grouped in source. These are listed as source groups for reporting releases, and these are listed here on the screen. For example, waste incineration, metal production, and so on and so forth. This is important because the action plan, the inventories, and release estimates should all relate back to these Annex C chemicals and source groups. So this is really to frame. One point to make that in practice, inventory activities focus mainly on dioxins and furans, because these substances are actually indicative of the presence of potential presence of other UPOPs. So a comprehensive, a complete, well-prepared dioxins and furan inventory can help identify other sources, and support measures for UPOPs in a more broader sense. So question 12, so moving on, and we were at question 11 before, so moving on, question 12, Q12 is the main entry point for reporting the source inventories we were just talking about, and the release estimates for these sources for the Annex C chemicals. So it will first ask whether the party has developed an inventory and release estimates for Annex C chemicals. And then once that is answered, it will open sub-questions for each of the Annex C chemicals, which are here on the screen. Once the relevant inventory sub-question is opened, the party should provide information for each relevant reference here, including the source of the information and or the methodology used. And for example, I'd like to point out to the existence of the UNEP toolkit for identification and quantification releases of dioxins, furans, and other POPs, which is available on the Stockholm website, or, for example, national inventories. The party should then report estimates by source group and release vectors, so air, water, land, product, residue, and so on. Here, the key point for reporting is the comparability over time. So if the underlying data used for the estimate, the emission factors or the methodology have changed over time, then the early estimates would need to be, or may need to be, let's say, recalculated using the same approach as the updated inventory. So it means that this data can actually be looked at over time and compared. And this is an issue that can happen. So some of the key checks when entering the Article 5 data. So the baseline year is the first year for which an inventory or an activity data are available for that chemical. And if it's earlier than 2001, then no, if earlier data exists, then 2001 should be selected. So this really provides the starting point for which later estimates can be compared to. The reference year is not the year, that's important to note, is not the year when the inventory was prepared, it's the year when the release occurred and when the activity data was actually collected. And this matters because estimates must be entered under the correct year and in the reporting table. Again, coming back to this comparability issue, if not, trends over time are difficult to interpret. You use the use of NR, not relevant, and blank cells have different meanings. That's something we see sometimes in national reports that are submitted. So only use NR where the source category does not exist or is not relevant for the country. But if the source category exists, but there's no estimate that was made, you leave that cell blank, and then you can explain in a comment why there is a gap. And then numeric fields should contain numbers only, and be aware of the actual correct units, which vary from chemical to, well, with the dioxins and furans in particular. So avoid entering text such as NA, not applicable, or no information available in the numeric fields. And again, you can use comments to explain if there's missing data or any assumptions or national circumstances that are important to mention. So this is my final slide. And it's just listing a few sort of checks you can do before completing that section to make sure your data is as complete as possible and correct. So first, with regard to the action plan, you can check again: is the status clear? Are the relevant years included? If difficulties are reported, because you have that option to include any difficulties, report on difficulties. Are those answered in a consistent manner? Second, regarding the inventories, so are the relevant Annex C chemicals covered? Are reference years included? Are the sources of information and methodologies identified? Then you can check the release estimates. Are the relevant source groups and release vectors complete where possible? Have you used correctly NR and blank cells? Then you can check on BAT and BEP, are the measures for new and existing sources covered? Where the reporting format asks for starting years, have those been entered? And then finally, comments, use them to explain the gaps in assumptions. I mentioned this already. So I think here the key message is that the completeness does not mean it's perfect data. It means that the response is clear enough to be understood, interpreted, and used for trends and over time. Thank you very much. This concludes my presentation. And as Lena said, we're available for questions here, or at any time you can email us and we can help you with these matters. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Allan. And I will now open the floor for questions. So please raise your hands if you want to ask us something. While we're waiting for anyone to raise their hands, I can already answer a question that was sent in through our question and Q&A chat. So if you are new to the Stockholm Convention and you don't have a technical account, you can either contact the OCP of your country to ask if they could grant you share with you the login details of the technical account, or if you are new OCP, please contact the Stockholm Convention so that we can provide you with the login details. So I hope that answers your question. I don't see any hands raised or any other questions in the chat, but we will give you a little bit of time to see if anything comes in. If there are no other questions, thank you so much for joining us today. It was a pleasure being here with you, and I really hope you found these presentations helpful. We wish you good luck with filling in the national report, and please don't hesitate to contact me and Alain if you have any other questions that come up during your reporting time. Thank you, and wishing you a good day or good night. Greetings from Geneva. Goodbye.
Goodbye to all.